Welcome to the career panel. So now I'm putting on a different hat. I'm going to be interviewing these fine people over here. But I'm going to start by having them take turns, just telling you who they are and what they do, so that you get to know them. So they'll briefly do that, and then we'll go into asking them more questions. So we'll start with Omar Melter Ayala.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. As Vivian mentioned, my name is Omar Melter, and I was actually a student here. So I saw in your spot many, many years ago. I was here from 2006 to 2009. Completed a bachelor's degree in criminal justice with a minor in Spanish. And after that, I went on to pursue a master's degree in criminal justice from the University of Nevada in Las Vegas. So I was there for a couple of years. I graduated and I came back to Oregon, and I thought about exploring different careers, in law enforcement, the FBI, etc. But I ended up applying for a PhD program at Portland State University, and somehow I was accepted with an assistantship. So I've been in that program for a little over 4 years, and the plan is to finish that this summer. I've been teaching here for the Criminal Justice Department for approximately the same time. So I teach a lot of the introductory courses and also some upper division courses. My focus in terms of research and my area in the criminal justice system is juvenile justice, but specifically the intersection between immigration and crime. I live in Salem. I have a beautiful daughter. What else? I'm a first-generation student, which means that I'm the first one in my family to ever graduate college. And I'm also a first-generation immigrant, which means that I was born somewhere else.
My name is Deputy Sam Hatch. I'm from the Polk County Sheriff's Office. I graduated from Western in 2015 with a Bachelor's of Science in Criminal Justice and a minor in Social Science. After I graduated, I started looking for a job, and right around that time, there's a lot of jobs, but a lot of people looking for it. So I got a lot of my experience working at Spirit Mountain Casino, working in security. It's a very unique position there. And in 2016, I got on at Polk County Sheriff's Office, working the Corrections Division. I've been doing that for almost 3 years now. It's a very unique setting, and it has its challenges, and it has its rewarding factors as well. Prior to coming to Western, I grew up in St. Helens, Oregon, which is in Columbia County, very much like Polk County in size and demographics way. After graduating from high school, the reason I chose Western and came here was to become a teacher. But during that time, there's a lot, the recession, there's very few jobs and outlooks, and I had a brother who went here, graduated in 2011. I sat in a couple of CJ classes, and I knew this really hooked me, because this is a very rewarding career choice that you can get into, and especially a very rewarding program to get into, learning more than just what you can on the job, but learning a lot more of the theory and practice behind the criminal justice program.
Hello, my name is Sabrina Hunter. Like Omar, I'm a first-generation college graduate. I graduated from here quite a while ago in 2007, so 12 years ago. I just aged myself. But I grew up in a family of police officers, so I knew from a very young age, 4 years old to be exact, this is what I wanted to do. I did a lot of research on colleges up and down the West Coast, and I picked Western because of its small feel. The class sizes are comparable to like high school classes. If you're looking at a bigger university, there's hundreds and hundreds of people, and you'll never ever see or talk to your professors. They're too busy for you. Western, in general, Western was a great fit for me. After I graduated from there, I did a lot of volunteer work until I landed my dream job at Salem Police Department. When I'm not on crutches, I normally work patrol graveyard shift. Right now I'm assigned to our detective unit, so it's kind of a blessing. I'm getting a little extra experience there. I'm very involved within the agency as well. Not only do I work patrol, I'm a part of our domestic violence team. I'm a cadet advisor, so I say kids, but younger people, ages 14 to 21, who are interested in becoming police officers. There's a program we go through which trains them as well. Let's see. I'm an ROTC instructor, so new police officers. I teach them report writing, police authority, and such. I'm also a FTO, which stands for Field Training Officer. So every new police officer that goes through about a year of training gets assigned to an FTO. I'm on our threat assessment team as well. So if you're in school and another student threatens to bring a gun to school or something of that nature, I'm assigned to follow up on that and look into that. Recruiting team, I have a table upstairs. Hopefully I'll see some of you guys afterwards as well. And I'm also part of our Marion County Human Trafficking Task Force.
So yeah, my name's Kevin Jones. I work for the FBI in Salem, Oregon. I've been with the FBI now for about 8 years. I was a student here at Western Oregon University. I graduated in 2012. I was lucky enough to land an internship in 2011. So if you do decide to come here, one of the main things you're going to have to do to get a degree in criminal justice is your practicum, which is an internship. And I was looking around for all sorts of internships. I didn't know where I wanted to do it. During this process, you're assigned a faculty advisor. Mine was Dr. Murphy, who was sitting right over there with the glasses. He's shaking his head. He helped me a lot through the whole process. So I ended up finding out that the FBI had an internship process. I didn't know that. And I was crazy enough one day to apply for it. Never thought in my lifetime I would ever work for the FBI. Unlike Sabrina's family background, I grew up in a family of no police officers and an overall dislike for police officers. So it was kind of unique because I just always thought the FBI was cool. So I decided to give it a go. I had a lot of family members kind of looking at me, well, why would you go into the FBI? What? I said, yeah, I think it's cool. I think the FBI is cool. I don't know anything about it at all, but I think it's cool. So with his help, I applied. He helped guide me through the whole process, and I got in. So I started off as an intern. I worked up in Portland and did that for about a year. And then after that, right before graduation, they called me and they said, hey, we're about to post a new job. Are you interested? And I said, hold on. Would I get paid at this job? And they said, well, yeah. And I'm like, then I'll do it. Yeah, whatever it is. I don't care. Yeah. So I graduated literally at the football field here. I graduated there on a Saturday. And that night I was on a flight back to Quantico. And I spent a week at Quantico and got some training there. And I came back and worked up in the Portland office and with our confidential human sources and things like that. I worked in that program for about 2 years. And then I was lucky enough to get selected for a job based out of Salem as a staff operations specialist. So basically, does anybody here watch Criminal Minds? I know that. Jeez Louise. Okay. I didn't know if that was like old school now, or if that was something that people still watch. I think it still is. So what's the gal who's like the analyst who's always like, who is it? Penelope Garcia. So I'm like the guy version of Penelope Garcia, except for she works a lot faster than I do. And she's able to solve a lot more crime than I can in a day, or especially in a 30-minute episode. So basically that's what I do. I work in Salem. I am our only analyst in Salem, and I support an office of 8 special agents, 1 support, and there's 2 supervisors. We have a Russian linguist that works out of our Salem office. We have a forensic accountant that works out of there too. So we're our own little unit, and that unit, we respond to all crimes that have a federal nexus that we're interested in the 5 counties surrounding Salem. So on the side, when I'm not catching bad guys, or at least trying to at a rate faster than Penelope Garcia, I also teach classes here at Western. It was a great opportunity for me to gain some experience with education. I also think it's a great opportunity for students to learn. And this university has done so much for me, and I really do think that with the due diligence and taking some time to ask some good questions and get to know people around here, you guys will benefit as much as I have. So that's it for me.
Thank you. So you realize that our faculty do more than just teach you. They also serve as people who guide you and help you navigate your way towards a career. So now we'll have Elizabeth Quintana.
Hi, all of that. But I actually work in the juvenile system. So my name is Elizabeth Quintana. I am presently working at Marion County Juvenile Department. My role within the department is as a juvenile probation officer. So within that line, I graduated from Western in 2010. I was hired in the county 1 month prior to graduation. So I was already working for the county at that point in time. So it's nice to have a job prior to graduation, and it helps a lot when you say you're coming from this school. One of the things you should note is that within our own agency, it's a standing joke, but when we ask people where they graduate from, you will find that 85% of the people that are working right now in Marion County Juvenile Department come from Western Oregon, and so many of them have their degrees directly from here. My role as a juvenile probation officer is I kind of consider myself a broker of services. It is not necessarily to get kids in trouble. I actually have quite a passion of working with kids. I have always worked with them. So I work with kids age range from 10 to about, my biggest baby is going to be 20. So it's a large range, and I've always enjoyed working with kids. So I made the decision for criminal justice actually by mere fluke. I came to this school to do education as well. I wanted to be a history teacher. Yeah. But as I was here, I ended up getting a relief job because obviously we need employment, right, as we still go to school. And I started working at the juvenile detention facility in Marion County. And what I found is that it was a set group of kids that needed so much support, and I do have a passion for them. And after working there for a few months, I made the decision that was better. It was better to change what I was going to do. So I ended up graduating here and instead of teaching, becoming a probation officer through the county. As far as what we do on a daily basis, your schedule's never the same, which is actually quite brilliant. You can come into the day and you think it's going to be this, but no, because you're dealing with people in anything like this, everything shifts to what you need. Because in the end, in criminal justice, I think you're in the service of people, and my job is in the service of those kids that I'm responsible for. So, all in, that's kind of a little bit of what I do.
Thank you very much. And for what it's worth, I also graduated from Western Oregon University before going on to get my PhD and coming back to teach here. So you can see from what the panelists have said so far, the variety of opportunities that our program offers. And another thing that's coming up is how many people who work in these agencies around here are products of our program. So that tells you a lot about the impact that this program has. And if you're thinking about criminal justice at all, this is the place to be. All right. So I'm going to ask them another question. Basically, what I would like to find out is how their degree in criminal justice from here prepared them for what they do. So this time I will start from Elizabeth, and then we will go that way. So if you can tell us how your degree in criminal justice prepared you for the job you now do.
One of the things that I loved about the criminal justice program through here is practical knowledge, meaning that it's not just you cracking a book and getting a whole bunch of facts about things you're not going to use. One of the things that you take from here is everything that you're going to hear within your classes will be applicable to what you're going to do in whatever the field area that you're going to go in the criminal justice field. They're going to throw out some words out there, big words, and you think, will that really be something that I'm going to be using? It will. And that's one of the things that I did appreciate is the fact is that everything that you're taking into these classes, you will use when you go into your respective field. It's not anything, at least in my experience, nothing that I took from them was not applicable. Everything that I had was something that I could put forth and make it work. So I think in that perspective for the field is that you get practical knowledge that really is something that you're going to apply.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with what Elizabeth just said. Everything you are going to be educated on here is going to be at some point or another in your career in law enforcement, you will be able to pinpoint it back and say, oh yeah, okay, administrative subpoena. Okay, yeah, I remember hearing about that. Or like, oh, what is hotspot policing? What is, all these things are going to be something that when people are discussing it, you're going to say like, oh, okay, no, I remember that. But it's not only just the content that the degree in criminal justice from Western is going to provide you too. It's also, and the biggest thing that I think I benefited from coming to this university was time management. Because you have your criminal justice classes, but then at any given time, you're also going to be taking other classes as well. So being able to keep yourself organized and yourself on point and say, okay, well, I have to study for CJ 213 for like an hour or so tonight. And then tomorrow I have to study up for that math one. And then on Thursday I have a midterm. And being able to organize your week and put everything down in your planner and work your plan, I think was one of the biggest things that I learned by coming here that I still use today. I still have a planner. I still have to stay organized, and even more now than then. So I think it was a very good, hand in hand between the knowledge that you get through the CJ program, and then just the requirement to stay organized and to make sure that you're knocking out of the park in all your classes. So.
Thank you. Sabrina?
I would say the most beneficial part of my time at Western was the practicum. So my advisor at the time was Dr. Gingerich. He's over there. He had me for 4 years, and based on my, personality or my style, he placed me in a practicum with the Oregon State Police. He thought that would best fit my style. So during that, for an entire semester or term, you are put into the workforce for 40 hours. So basically you're employed there. That is your school for that term. So I got to see firsthand, I saw my first fatal car crash. I went to the state penitentiary. I saw my first SWAT raid. I saw him blow the door off of a house. It was super awesome. I got to see the crime lab and how drugs were tested. I got to run code. And for those of you that don't know what running code means, it's a police officer when they flip their lights and sirens on and they drive super fast. So that was the first time I got to drive over 100. It was great. So a lot of that stuff you never see. I have applicants at our agency now that didn't go to college. They don't have any idea what police officers actually do. They may have seen a really cool episode of Cops once and thought they want to try it out. So, but with the practicum program, you get to see that 40 hours a week over and over again, what police officers do. In addition to the practicum program, you guys are probably not going to like this answer, but report writing is a big chunk of my day at work. So every single thing I do at work, traffic stops, shoplifts, gunshot wounds, people with mental health issues, out of control juveniles, we have to write very thorough reports on every contact we have with everyone. And it might not seem like a big deal, but those reports are read by DHS, by the district attorney's office, by maybe Sam at the jail when I arrest them and take them to the jail. So how you can portray yourself on paper is huge. So those tedious writing 111, writing 121 classes might seem annoying while you're here, but they will become super helpful down the road.
Thank you very much. Before I move to Deputy Sam Hatch, I'm going to just follow up on what Officer Hunter just said about writing. There's one faculty member who is not here today with us, but she is responsible for writing in our program. And because we have such a strong relationship with the agencies around here, because and beyond actually, because of the fact that we have a lot of alumni working in these agencies and actually running these agencies, what we do with our program is to constantly improve on it, is to constantly make it such that it's applicable currently to the needs of all of these agencies. And one of the things that we've heard from the agencies is the need for people to know how to write. So in our program, unlike in many other criminal justice programs, you would find that we have a built-in writing curriculum within our program that helps prepare you for your work after here, your life after here, and in your work life. So we really, really do equip you with those writing skills that you need in order to be successful in the criminal justice field. So now let's go to Deputy Hatch.
What I found most beneficial from the CJ program was doing the practicum. It gives you kind of a reality check. There's only so much cops can show in 30 minutes. My practicum, I spent my time at Marion County, and most of it was at Marion County Jail. There is a lot of people that come in and out of that facility, and there are a lot of people who come in who are addicted to drugs, alcohol problems, and a lot of mental health and behavioral health problems. So kind of getting that exposure and know what I'm getting myself into and going, yeah, I still want to do this. There's a little twisted side of you that kind of thinks that, but it's the adrenaline rush, you know. It's, for me, I get a lot of people that come in that have a lot of mental health problems, and you know, the old approach in corrections was, you know, knuckle drag a jailer, just drag them out and put them in the cell and be done with it. You know, there's a lot of skill that takes into place with what I do and what I've learned from going to Western. A big part of it is being a critical thinker. Corrections deputies, we're expected to be problem solvers. Sabrina could bring somebody in because that was their last resort. You know, they could ask for all the information in the world, tell us the truth, and they say no. Okay, I'm going to take you to jail. Well, they're in jail, so if they don't want to cooperate with us, what's the worst that it gets? You're in jail. So it's just kind of being a problem solver, and you get that from taking classes, you know, and just like from writing, you spend maybe hours writing a 10-page paper. It's not just a time filler. It's to make you really think about what you're learning about, what you're trying to do. And then when you get to my position, now it's like, wait, now I realize why I was writing those papers. It wasn't just to waste my time. It was actually to get me to think what I can do differently. Corrections has its challenges of, you know, we limit people's rights. When they come to our facility, the right to a phone call does not exist. So don't ask for that. But there are other things that people have to have. And, you know, it's basic human rights. But we have to maintain safety and security of a facility. However, we have to keep that in line with a lot of regulations, state, federal laws, and a lot of different kind of aspects of your how your jail standards is what we call them. And a lot of those times you have to, you know, if you get into a position of management, you will have to take time and read all your policies, make sure that they are in line with the state and federal laws, make sure they're correct with the jail standards. This is stuff that you learn in college. That's why you come here, is to learn to do those things. Because for me, going to Western and learning all this in criminal justice wasn't just to be another person in the system of being in criminal justice. It was to be a leader, to be somebody who wants to make a difference in this field. That is what you're doing here when you come to this. You want to make the difference, not just be another, you know, pawn in the whole system.
Thank you very much. Omar.
Yeah, my experience, I think, was a little bit different. My degree was really necessary to go on to the next step, which was getting a master's degree. In order to get into a master's degree, you have to have a bachelor's degree. So, in my case, you know, it was necessary. But aside from that, you know, I saw my time at Western as really, you know, an opportunity to build myself, not only as, you know, as a writer and as an academic, but also as a person. And I really agree with a lot of the things that you guys said in terms of, you know, becoming a critical thinker, for instance, thinking about, you know, your position in the world. You know, I think that'll happen for me while I was at Western. So I think that I built myself as much academically as I did personally, and I think that's, you know, it was a really life-changing experience in my case. So yeah.
Thank you. So this next question may not apply to you, Omar, but there are some agencies that also hire people who don't have a degree. And so my question to the panelists would be how getting a degree and a degree in criminal justice sets you apart from the people in your agency who don't have a degree. So we'll start from Deputy Hatch.
For me, what sets me apart from having a degree versus other people in my agency, it's getting the experience and knowledge of what to expect when you step into those doors. I work with people who are veterans who had a lot of experience in combat zones and such, so they have a really good mentality of going into a very stressful situation with people. For me, I walk into a facility where it's a 1 to 26 ratio, and it's not a lot of good odds, but we walk in with a lot of confidence in ourselves. And I can say with graduating with a degree, you feel a lot more confident in yourself because you took on a challenge that a lot of people they'll wait their time till they can turn 21 and then they'll get on at an agency or try to do reserves. But there's a lot of self-rewarding factors that come into getting a degree. You do kind of feel a little snubbed that I challenge myself to make myself smarter, but that's just it. You feel more confident in yourself with what you're going to do with your career. Whether if you might start somewhere you don't like, but it's getting your foot through the door and working your way up that's the challenge. And knowing that you have the knowledge versus other people, that helps a lot when it comes down to sitting in front of a panel of people trying to tell them why you're best fit for the job. So when I can stand here in front of other people that are in my same position I am, but I can tell them that I invested in myself because this is something I wanted to do, and this is what I invested and put my time and work and energy into this. I'm going to be here for you. I'm going to do this job as well as I can because I know I'm confident in myself that I can do it because I came here and challenged myself to do that job.
Thank you. Officer Hunter?
Yes. So I can't speak to any other agencies, but I know within my department, a degree is required to promote. So if I ever have the urge to move up the ranks to sergeant, lieutenant, deputy chief, or chief, there's a certain amount of college required for that. It's also very helpful when I go into job interviews within my agency for special units. I can pull from that practicum experience. Or, as I didn't mention earlier, Vivian, one of her courses many years ago, she required us to volunteer as part of our class and write a paper on that. So I volunteered for a domestic violence shelter. So that experience and that volunteering was applicable within my agency as part of the DV team. And also, it earns you a little more money on your paychecks as well. So,
thank you, Kevin.
Okay, so to work for the FBI, there are some entry-level positions where, I'll be honest, you don't have to have a college degree. You could get in, you could start working. With that being said, though, the majority of people that we're hiring now for our entry-level positions have bachelor's degrees. Some of them even have master's degrees. And that's just for the entry-level positions in the FBI. Now, if you did decide to try to get into the FBI without a bachelor's degree at least, you would only be, there would be a ceiling for how far you could scoot up the ladder and how much money you could make in your jobs. Just like Sabrina said, if you have aspirations to move up to more senior levels, or if you have aspirations to try different jobs out that require more responsibility, they oftentimes will require more education. So my thought, and this is the same thought I had when I was applying to Western, is that, okay, well, I'm 17. If I could turn 21 and I could already have my bachelor's degree, and then I could go to apply to be a police officer. Because what else am I going to do with those 4 years anyways? Because at the time, I was working at Fred Meyer's, and I was like, okay, I could have a bachelor's degree at a reputable university and be able to apply for a place like Salem PD or Oregon State Police and say that I have worked at Fred Meyer's for 4 years, or I could say that I just completed a 4-year bachelor's degree from Western Oregon University with a major in criminal justice and a minor in Spanish while having still worked at Fred Meyer's. So that was my thought process, and I would say if you're going to, just like Sam had said, if you're going to invest in something, invest in yourself and do it now, because you will never regret moving forward, and there will never be a time where you're going to say, man, I really wish I would have got, or I really wish I wouldn't have got my bachelor's degree when I was 18. I really wish I hadn't have started that. you're always going to thank yourself for it. And the same goes for any advanced degrees you decide to get. If you decide to go for a master's degree, you're never going to sit back and say, man, I really shouldn't have got a master's degree. They're all going to benefit you. And if it's not immediate, it will in the long run.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth.
Within our agency, minimum is a 4-year degree thus far. At least for a juvenile probation officer is a requirement. And one of the things that I've done in the course of the time that I've been there is that I've actually done a lot of interview panels for new applicants that are coming in and gotten to see a little bit how they work the process of how do they actually select candidates. And I can tell you it's as simple as this. They look at your application. If it says it has a 4-year degree, it goes in this pile. If it doesn't, it goes in another pile, unless it looks extremely good. I mean, where there's lots to it. And it's as simple as that, at least in our agency, they look at that. Once they determine that you have a 4-year degree, it's what you invest into it. So while you're here, if you get opportunities for internships, for anything that really is in the service of others, you'll find that all of that is applicable on your application, as that's one of the things that they also look at. But 4-year degree is minimum. Within our department, we have a detention facility as well as an alternative program and a shelter program. For all of those, a minimum is a 2-year degree, and that's coupled with lots of experience behind it. So you have your 2-year degree as well as the experience that couples that makes, you can say, the 4-year, or else it's a minimum of a 4-year degree.
Thank you very much. So from what we are gathering from the panel, I asked this question specifically because sometimes you get people advising you who tell you you don't need a degree to go into the criminal justice agencies. But while that may have been true years ago, it sounds like it's no longer true, even to get you into the job that you want to be in. And even if you get there, the people with degrees are going to be promoted above you. And so getting a degree in criminal justice is really highly advisable, as we can hear from this panel right here. So I'm going to take some time to let you ask questions of the panel. So what I'll do is, since we are getting close to the end of the time here, I'll have you ask any questions you have. And if we still have a little time after that, I'll let them in 1 or 2 words tell you what advice they will give you if you wanted to go on their career route as well, unless that's one of the questions you ask. Okay, so any questions from the audience?
Does military service help with getting a job in any agencies? Like, is it required to have a bachelor's degree if you go into the military before you apply for any agencies?
Who wants to take that?
I can talk about Salem. So any military service, you get what's called bonus points as an applicant. So if you came out of the Marine Corps and Kevin, who has no experience, both apply and interview exactly the same, you're going to move ahead versus Kevin.
You win.
Yeah, everybody moves ahead over Kevin.
It's fair. And with the FBI, it's a similar thing. There's not a requirement that you have to have served in the military. Again, it's also job specific. So if you want to become a special agent, you would have to have a bachelor's degree minimum. But it's the same thing. You would get like double bonus points if you had served in the military. So it's the exact same thing. If you walked in and Sabrina walked in and she didn't serve in the military, you would be Sabrina.
Yeah, Sabrina.
So it's a similar process.
But if you're looking to looking to invest yourself, if you want to do military first, fantastic. I believe Western still has an ROTC program that you can go into, or even any other university. Get your education paid for, and if this is still a career you want to go into, I know in the military there is military police stuff that you can get into, and then come to school, get that education, And then by then, you're looking maybe 28 years old. There's a lot of people who don't start in law enforcement until their late 20s, 30s. You're putting yourself ahead of the curve from everybody else. You have experience working in the military, know how to work firearms, safety, and special tactics, and then you have the education on that. So you do benefit yourself if that's a route you want to choose. It's how you want to invest in yourself and what you're willing to put out for whatever agency you are working for, what you want to end up at the end of your career, what you said you did, and how you really improve the communities that you're working in.
And to add to that, we do see a lot of veterans in our program who choose to come into criminal justice after their service. And the university actually has a veterans office that provides excellent support to veterans, in addition to whatever supports in existence on campus. So it makes for a very welcoming place for veterans.
What inspired you to stay in Oregon instead of moving elsewhere, per se, after you finished college?
I can answer that on my behalf. It's home. Oregon is definitely home. I mean, we might not always like the weather, right? But it felt comfortable to me. And in college, one of the things that I noted for myself was you need support, right? There are going to be rough days, and there are going to be great days, and there are intermediate days. And when I made the decision to stay in Oregon, it was because I had friends or family that could potentially be that support for me when I needed to. And then when I looked at this campus, it felt like home. It felt like family. And as I continued to be here, it was that was the solidifying factor for me, is that it felt like it was a place where I could feel secure and not feel lost. So that was one of the reasons.
What are supposedly the benefits of getting a master's over a bachelor's? Obviously, there's more experience and more dedication involved, and it's going to look better no matter what, but is it truly worth it?
Yes, it's usually very beneficial, even if you don't see that benefit right away. In terms of a promotion, for instance, as some of you guys mentioned already, having a master's degree is going to give you that edge. But that is something that you will explore. That's on a one-on-one basis with your academic advisors and the faculty here in the program. It is especially important if you want to go into my career, for example. As a professor, you have to have a master's to teach undergraduate level courses. You have to have a PhD to teach bachelor's or undergraduate or master level courses. But I think it was maybe Kevin that mentioned that, maybe it was you, that you never really regret, getting more education. I think that is especially applicable in this case. But that is a decision that you don't necessarily have to make alone. There is, I remember, for example, having a conversation about going to a master's program with Vivian when I was about to graduate here, and I had that conversation with her, and we talked about the benefits, the pros and the cons, and I decided that it was worth it for me. The faculty here actually helped me to apply for the program. They supported me through that process, and I was able to get into a master's program with an assistantship, which means that your tuition is paid for. You work for the department either in teaching or research type activities, and you also get a stipend with that. And as Vivian mentioned, we actually have a master's program here that has been continuously growing, and we have a couple of assistantships as well, graduate assistantships.
So since all of you guys kind of have different perspectives, this can be a question for all of you. But when you're out and about and you're going to see stuff with your job, because there's some brutal stuff out there, how do you handle that? And how do you really deal with that, after you see it? Because not everything's pretty out there.
Yeah, that's a really good question.
Pick me.
Yeah.
So I would say keep a good list of hobbies outside of work and non-police friends. So I like, when I can walk, I like to go running. I like gardening, kind of lame. Riding my bike and sewing, kind of old lady thing. But it's very, very important not to get sucked into the job, because police officers are technically mentally we're always on duty. Even here, I've been like scanning for all my exits and thinking about all kinds of hypothetical, active shooter scenarios while they're talking. So it's very important that you engage in, I guess, relaxing things outside of work, therapeutic stuff. But a lot of police officers turn to like alcohol or gambling. And suicide, I'm sure you guys have watched the news lately, that it's kind of rising with suicide in this profession. And it used to be where we didn't talk about it. Cops are supposed to be tough. We don't cry. We don't ask for help. We are shying away from that now. Our agency has a trauma team. So we have officers, that are very confidential. If I'm having a problem at home, if my husband and I are going through a divorce, or I'm filing for bankruptcy, or I just went on a call where I had to, pick up a dead baby or something like that really bothers me, I can ask for help, and I'm not going to get any stigma from that.
Is there a maximum age for joining the FBI?
Is there a maximum age?
Yes.
Again, that's job specific. So if you want to become an analyst or a support tech or a variety of other jobs, no, there's no maximum age. If you are interested in becoming a special agent with the FBI, you have to become a special agent by your 37th birthday. And the reason for that is because there's a maximum retirement age of 57 if you're a special agent in the FBI, and they want to make sure that they can give you a 20-year pension.
Do you guys do ride-alongs, but for like forensic lab investigators? Like, can you be in a lab with people that are working on a case?
Are you asking for the FBI, or because I don't know who you are? Where are you? Can you
we
stand
can
up when
see
you guys
anybody.
talk so we can try to put a face to the name a little bit? Okay, there you are. Okay, so were you asking about the FBI or Salem
which
PD
lab?
or which
In
lab?
general, like, can you like be an intern?
I wanna can I tackle that? One of the biggest benefits, honestly, and I know that I'm a little bit biased because I was a student here and also because I'm part of the practicum program here in the department. But one of the biggest benefits of being a student of Western Oregon and being a criminal justice major is that we have a network that has been built with agencies all over Oregon and also outside of Oregon, and that's not that's something that came way before I was here. People were mentioning earlier, the fact that in some agencies we have, 85% of Western graduates working there. That's a huge benefit to you. That means that if you come to Western, if you are a CJ major and you talk to us, we can put you in touch with really any profession within the criminal justice system. So if that's something that you wanted to do, for instance, all you had to do was talk to us, and we would put you in touch with the right people. So yeah, that's absolutely doable, and you don't necessarily have to wait. We encourage you actually not to wait until you're a senior or until you get to the practicum stage. You can do that at any time when you're a student. You can do a shadow interview, you can do ride-alongs. We can put you in email communication with some of those individuals, for instance. That's a huge benefit to you as a student, and that's something that is very unique to us as a university and as a program.
How's becoming a police officer affected your family life? Like with your relatives and...
I'm married to another officer, which is super beneficial. Not traditional, but my youngest child is 11. I was actually pregnant with her my senior year here. So she doesn't know anything different. It's very normal for her to celebrate Christmas on December 27th, or for mommy to show up at her softball game in my uniform. So she doesn't know any different. She thinks it's super cool. She wants to be a cop too someday. So I go to her school and I talk to her school as well about police stuff. But you learn to adjust. I would say if you don't have a very strong support system, you're likely to fail. A lot of police families, typically, if the husband is the police officer and the wife's at home, it's very stressful to know her husband is out all night and she doesn't hear from him or comes home late. So it does take a toll on your family, but if you don't have 100% support from them, it's going to be really rough. my family, I mean, that's all they've ever known. So.
Is there a certain GPA you guys require for us to take classes?
I think I would answer that. Basically, the way I explain this to students who tend to have this kind of question is, we tend to build your GPA with you. So when you come into our program, what we do is assign you a faculty advisor. So you will be able to build a relationship with a faculty member in the department who will watch you and encourage you and motivate you and point you to resources when you need them. We actually are very proactive so that, for instance, on my advisee list, we make sure we see you at least once a term. And so when you come in to see me, I'm going to take a look at your GPA from the start. And then I'm going to say, what happened with this class here? And if it didn't go well, sometimes it's not because you are not a hard worker. Sometimes it's simply because life happens. You're going through some difficulty. It could be unrelated to your education. It could be a family situation. And so we are there for you. We listen to you, and then we find ways to correct that GPA before you get too far. So my answer is yes, if you have a GPA that falls below maybe a 2.0, at some point the university is going to send you a warning letter. And but then, even then, there are resources on campus to help you. The goal here is we want you, once you come in here, to succeed. We are not here to exclude you. We are here to make sure that if you are struggling in any way, that we have the resources to bring to help you succeed. So it's good to keep a GPA up, but then we help you to do that.
So, like, somebody who was in like the juvenile system when they were like younger, how would that affect them going into like a career for criminal justice?
I see. Here's the nice thing about it. The juvenile system in the past, I don't know how it was. I can only tell you where it's moving from right now in the future. We don't necessarily see kids as criminals. At least I've never seen any of the clients I serve as criminals. Rather, it's kids that have made mistakes. And so my job as part of that is to help kids correct those mistakes to the best of my abilities. And I also serve in what's called a START Court program, which is an intense drug court program. And what it does for kids in the long term is that it helps expunge their record at a very fast rate. Meaning, if they can continue throughout the program and complete it, it expunges the record the moment that they graduate the program. Also, for juveniles that don't necessarily fit the criteria for the program, it's not a lost cause. It's just there's processes that you would have to go through in order to help clean up the record as it is. But the important thing is that as long as a juvenile you took the steps necessary to close out your case successfully, then as an adult, it shouldn't impede you from moving forward.
Thank you very much for your attention, and thank you.